Seems to me that so far the response has been enough to stop Putin making massive advancements, enough to keep Ukraine with their head above the water, but not enough to stop this war in its tracks, which potentially means a very long and protracted war. Does more need to be done?
I think you're right, Alex. You said it just now. What it needs is a comprehensive strategy that deals with Russia as the rogue pariah state that it is. I think we have to recognize that Russia in its present form is an existential threat to everything we hold dear in civilized democratic societies. And that means the whole of society has to be mobilized in response to it. The other thing we have to do is get the initiative from Putin. We are in a position of reacting all the time to what he does. We need to get onto the front foot and get him to react to what we're doing. That doesn't mean that NATO as a defensive alliance has to be aggressive. It just means it has to be more agile, it needs to be more inventive, and it needs to recognize the new power structures in the world.
Yet again, we've found some sanctions down the back of the sofa, it seems. That I think, though, it seems that, the more we mete this out through sanctions, there's a backlash to those. There's real politic that kicks in about how things like the energy crisis are going to affect people at home. Surely what needs to happen is a hugely ramped up military response. But do we have the wherewithal and the weapons and resources to do that?
Yeah, we've got the weapons and resources. We just don't have them in the right place, and we don't have the right strategy at the moment. NATO's meeting shortly in Madrid. It's going to sort out a new strategy. What we haven't had in response to Russia's aggression is a strategy that recognizes that quite a lot of our countries that are our allies, like the Baltic states, Denmark, the Nordic states, don't actually have the strategic depth to absorb a Russian punch. And the former tripwire policy, whereby if you attack some of our troops, aircraft or ships, then obviously we're going to respond, doesn't work anymore. Russia can be in all three Baltic state capitals in no time whatsoever. If we fight to recapture them, they're going to be devastated. So we've got to adopt a strategy that's more like Israel's, where Israel can't afford to fight on its own land. And that's going to take some time to work out, but it's going to fundamentally change the way we defend Europe in particular, and European and North American interests in the wider world.
Jens Stoltenberg today talking about making sure NATO-grade weaponry gets to Ukraine. But when you've got countries like Germany failing to deliver on promises that they would send big arms to Ukraine months ago, and then you've got people like Macron, who seems to be taking more conciliatory response, and Draghi of Italy again talking about whether or not Europe can afford a protracted war. Can the UK, with the support of America, go this alone and get those weapons to Ukraine for essentially a decisive end to this war?
There's no doubt that we can. The Americans yet again are proving to be the arsenal of democracy. And as Zelensky said, democracy has got to be better armed than totalitarianism. But I think France and Germany need to bear in mind that when Dmitry Medvedev, the deputy chairman of the Russia's Security Council, says he wants a security structure that goes all the way from Vladivostok to Lisbon, he means under Russian and Chinese domination. And I think if France and Germany think in trying to compromise today, they're dealing with the threats downstream, they're very much deluded. I think, as Winston Churchill said about appeasement, appeasement is what you do when you hope the crocodile eats you last. And I think France and Germany need to recognize that. It's realpolitik in the modern world. We're facing a totalitarian power that seeks to rub out our freedoms and also our way of life. It's an existential crisis. And unless France and Germany get on board with that, then they're going to be left behind.